exactly. But let's move on to our final topic of the night. Not a good one, by the way. Yeah, and we're talking about Duke with their DWIs making their way across the news right now, and it's plastered all over the news outlets right now.
Yeah, so two Duke players, Michael Savarino and then Paolo Banchero, were pulled over, I think it was Sunday night, for a DWI. Savarino was the one driving. Banchero was in the passenger seat. Banchero is possibly going to be the top pick in the NBA draft coming up, or at least a top 5 pick, lottery pick. And then you have Savarino, who, this made the story big, is Mike Krzyzewski's grandson. Okay, his mother is an associate athletic director, assistant athletic director at Duke. Her grandfather is Mike Krzyzewski, who basically runs Duke. And then you have Michael, who was a walk-on 2 years ago and then became a scholarship player last year. He got pulled over. He blew a .08, which is right on the line of where you are considered drunk. That's your legal limit is .08, or your illegal limit, because if you hit that, that means you shouldn't be driving. So he was right there, but the kid's 20 years old, so he was illegally drinking, and he had one of the best players in college basketball in his passenger seat. Banchero gets a citation for aiding and abetting in a DWI, where he's essentially, assisting in his teammate in driving while drunk. So they're both getting in trouble here. This is certainly going to hurt the program, especially Banchero, because he's one of the best players in college basketball. So it's hard to replace 19 and 10 every game. So that's interesting. Certainly an embarrassment for the Krzyzewski family. Everybody knows that this kid is Mike Krzyzewski's grandson. But I do think, because he's Krzyzewski's grandson, you got somebody who clearly has clout in the North Carolina area, in the Durham area, even though this was in Orange County. So not necessarily in Durham, but I'm sure the state troopers know who he is and who the kid next to him is. The kid next to him is the best player on campus. So you have two very influential basketball players who probably think, like we all when we were young, that you're invincible and you can just do whatever you want and there are no consequences. I think this is actually, in the long run, going to be a good thing for these two players, especially Banchero. You're going to be a first pick in the draft. This probably isn't going to hurt your draft stock, I don't think. So that's not going to hurt you there. And this is now a lesson. This is how you learn to grow up and understand that you are going to be the first pick in the draft and you cannot be doing things like this. And I don't know how in college basketball, there's not like a car service like there is in the NFL, but there's Ubers. There's ways to get rides home, when you're one of these guys. So, just to drive late at night, even if you're not even drunk, but it's late at night, just don't do it. Get an Uber, get a cab, whatever you got to do. And this is definitely a lesson for these two players, and especially Banchero. And I hope these guys learn from this, and it's happening to them now, rather than when Banchero's in the NBA and there are greater consequences than just missing a couple of ACC games.
Yeah, I personally think Banchero's lucky that Savarino was driving, because it would hurt his draft stock if he was the one that was driving and he was receiving the main DUI charge for the one being behind the wheel intoxicated. And I can guarantee you this. We're talking about two college teammates. Banchero was intoxicated himself. I can guarantee you that. So I think he made that smart decision of saying, I can't get behind the wheel. And so Savarino made the decision to get behind the wheel. Two bad decisions by two young men, and they're definitely going to learn the lesson and pay for it. But I'm telling you what, I guarantee you they both were intoxicated. Savarino might even have been a little less intoxicated, and that's why he felt he should be the one getting behind the wheel, or maybe to protect his friend because he knows he is going to be a high draft pick. So there's a lot of questions here. But a lot of the questions are coming up because, like you said, this is Mike Krzyzewski's grandson. And so on questions about, is he getting any preferential treatment? Then there's, questions whirling around, like, is he even good enough to be on this Duke basketball team? Or is he just there because his grandfather's the coach? And so I don't know. It's going to draw questions when you get into an incident like this. So the best thing that Savarino could have done was stay on campus and flout his clout there, because he probably would have got away with it. But when you're getting in trouble in a different state, nobody's going to wipe that under the rug for you. Your grandfather's power is now out the window, and now you're going to have to learn your lesson and pay the price.
Yeah, how many Henry Ruggs situations are we going to have to see where athletes say, you know, I just shouldn't be driving. It's just not worth it. I love driving cars. I think I'm invincible. I'm 19, 20 years old. I think I can do anything. But look at what happened to this 23-year-old, you know, NFL player who's got all this money. He just ruined his life and certainly and ended the life of a person the other day or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, and probably ruined a couple other lives as well. And you go back and you say, and we've all done dumb things. I mean, I've certainly done dumb things in my life as well. But you got to look at this stuff. And nowadays, you got Uber, you got Lyft, you got, you know, we talked about in professional sports, they have car services. You know, these guys are rich enough where they can call limos or call, you know, car services, never mind the free one that the NFL provides. I know it's different in college. You can't take certain benefits. But, I mean, if you're Krzyzewski's grandson, you have the money to take an Uber. Let's just be real. So, you know, and the other kid's going to be the first pick in the draft. You can spend $20 on an Uber to avoid this type of situation. So luckily, nobody got hurt. You know, this could have been a lot worse. And I think this is a teaching moment for both these players.
I'll just be real quick and I'll send it back to you for the sign off. With the NILs coming in, maybe Banchero needs an NIL from Uber or Lyft or something like that. Then you get free rides.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,